I am now recording. Okay, let's get started. Good morning. I am Jessica Parker, your Chief Enforcement Officer for the Building Department. Welcome to our 2022 Spring Virtual Landlord webinar. We here at the Building Department are excited to bring the most current and up-to-date compliance information to you landlords, property management groups, and business owners. Congratulations, you have taken the first step to compliance by logging on and participating in our webinar. You could have been anywhere else this morning, but you have chosen to spend time with us. Your choice to be here lets us know that you care about your tenants and their well-being. By following the steps that will be explained to you from each department and the state of Michigan, you are improving the quality of life for your tenants. We want to partner with you by walking you through the necessary steps of compliance. BSEED is here to kick us off by explaining those critical steps to obtaining a certificate of compliance and how to be a good neighbor in maintaining the exterior of your property. DPW will bring awareness to recycling options for your properties. The state of Michigan will explain how to make your property lead safe, along with HRD possibly providing resources through their lead safe program. Because we care about the condition of your property, and we understand the hardships some of you may have experienced, we invited the folks from the Rental Assistance Program to make sure you are aware of possible funding available to you and your tenant. Should you be issued a citation for property violations, DAH, the Department of Administrative Hearings, is here to explain the hearing process and how to obtain information about your case. And lastly, the third-party vendors are here to introduce themselves and their companies. And when you're ready, they can schedule your inspections for 1 and 2 family units. A few housekeeping rules. Please place all your questions in the chat and they will be answered at the end of the presentation. We ask that you do not specifically talk about properties or give out addresses. We will send out the recording of this webinar along with the presentation for those who have registered. I will introduce the panelists starting with the BSEED team from both the Property Maintenance, the Environmental Division, and our Accela team. Building Inspector Supervisor Arthur Rushin, Sam Fleming, Terry Martin, Inspector Ken Potenga, Project Manager Julie Fowler, who is also one of my co-hosts, and will go through the questions at the end of the presentation. Clerical Supervisor Beatrice Norwood, Clerical Support Bernadine Tarver and Tina Abernathy, Accela team member Michael Wheeler, General Manager of the Environmental Division Crystal Gilbert Rogers, Supervisor Deron Jones, and Executive Assistant Shanitha Moore. From the Department of Public Works, Madison Cross, State of Michigan, Jennifer Schutz, Housing and Revitalization Resources, Elaine Peterson, CERA Funding Qualifications and Submission, Valerie McIntosh, Department of Administrative Hearings, Ericka Savage. Third-party introduction will be done by Sam Fleming. And again, Julie Fowler will take the questions at the end. So right now I'm going to kick us off and introduce you to Supervisor Arthur Rushin. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. I'm glad that you could log in and make this landlord webinar. We will start with a PowerPoint presentation just to get you acclimated to some of the rental ordinance modifications that has taken place as of January the 4th, 2022. First thing that I would like to talk about is the rental ordinance modification dealing with rental registration. And so prior to January the 4th, 2022, you had to register every year. Now, when you register, your rental registration will be good until you decide to sell the property or you decide to change the use of the property. So your rental registration will be good until it's no longer a rental property. And also want to make sure that you're aware of, because this because you are going to be registered, you need to make sure that you update your mailing address at any time that mailing address change. The next part to the rental ordinance modification will deal with the certificate of compliance. And so one of the changes is that the multifamily buildings now will go from a 2-year certificate of compliance to a 3-year certificate of compliance. And another addition to that is that property owners now can obtain a 5-year certificate of compliance as long as you obtain 2 consecutive certificates of compliance without lapse starting January 4th, 2022. The next modification we'd like to talk about is regarding the lead clearance. And so the length of your certificate of compliance can be affected by the type of clearance that you provide to the city of Detroit. And so if there is just interim controls, then your certificate of compliance is good for 3 years. If you choose to do encapsulation or enclosure, your certificate of compliance will go to 4 years. And if you do complete removal of all lead-based paint, your certificate of compliance will be good for 7 years. And so we want to make sure that when your lead inspector risk assessor documents which type of controls method they use, make sure that they document that it was either encapsulation or enclosure, or if it was complete removal, we do need proof that it was done by a licensed contractor. Next, I'd like to talk about the federal inspections. We had in our previous, before this modification, we had a provision where we would accept a federal inspection or government inspection, HUD inspection. The only criteria then was that the person who performed the inspection had to certify that it met the standards of the property maintenance ordinance. And so with slight modifications to that, the only thing that you have to do now is submit to us a passing federal inspection. And because you submit that passing federal inspection, that meets all of the requirements of the rental ordinance. Now, there are some certain nuances with this, as far as with apartment buildings. The multifamily buildings would have to be 100% voucher recipients. If you have a situation where only half the building receives a federal inspection, then you will have to follow the standards of the rental process with the other units that do not have a federal inspection. Same thing goes for a 2-family home. If one unit has a voucher recipient and the other unit does not have a voucher recipient, you would have to follow the standard rental process with that particular unit. Next, I would like to turn this part of the presentation over to Inspector Kenneth Potenga, where he'll talk about from complaint to compliance.
Good morning, everyone. Inspector Ken Potenga. As Mr. Rushin indicated, I will be talking to you a brief summary of complaint to compliance. Complaints can come in from all sorts of different facets. Doesn't necessarily have to be the tenant who lives there. It could be family members, could be a city council complaint, could be an anonymous, a passerby. Most recently, we've seen complaints being filed by the CERA counselors. Once an inspector is scheduled by the clerical team, they are geographically scheduled for their area of operations within the city. Clerical is directed to give them a time frame between 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. for the inspector to arrive. If a narrower time frame is needed, please get in touch directly with the inspector to set up that time. Once the inspector is on site, if there is no third-party inspection report being submitted to the city, a full-blown interior, exterior annual inspection will be completed. If there is a third-party inspection report on file, only the complaint will be addressed. Once the inspection is completed, generally speaking, within 24 hours, a correction order will be issued and sent out in the mail to the owner. Once you receive that correction order, please ensure that you read it thoroughly. One of the very last bullet points on it states that it is the owner's responsibility to make those repairs and then schedule the re-inspection. Once the re-inspection is scheduled, it will be routed to the exact same inspector who completed the initial inspection and issued that correction order. The inspector is on site to ensure that repairs have been made, and once that is verified, the recommendation of a certificate of compliance will be issued. That is then turned over to clerical. Clerical will ensure that all documents are submitted, are valid, that all fees have been paid, and then we'll issue the certificate of compliance to the owner. That's how you come into compliance. That is a picture of the first page, the correction order. Please pay very special attention to the compliance dates on it, and make every effort to come into compliance prior to that compliance date.
Thank you. Say thank you.
Great. Thanks, Ken. Next up, we are going to pass this over to Michael Wheeler from our Accela team, and he is going to give a demonstration on how to set up an ELAPS account.
Thank you, Julie. Hi, my name is Michael. In this section, I will be showing how to create an ELAPS account and how to apply for a rental registration. To access Accela for the first time, I recommend going to detroitmi.gov. In the search bar towards the top, you can type in Accela, A-C-C-E-L-A, and hit enter. Then on this results page, you want to look for the Accela / electronic licensing and permits system. We've published a support webpage that contains useful links, guided videos, frequently asked questions, and also how-to documents already. And what we want to look for just accessing Accela is this go to Accela / ELAPS button. So if I click that, it's going to direct me to Accela. So now that we're in Accela, we can create that account. So to create the account, you want to hit New Users, Register for an Account at the bottom here. And then you want to check this disclaimer box. Select Continue Registration. And here you'll enter pretty standard information. Anything that has a red asterisk is required. So I'll enter my username, which is going to be janedoe.bc4. I'll enter my email address. Password. You also enter your security question and your answer for it. So I'll just make something up. For this contact information section, you want to click the Add New button. This is where you're going to be adding your personal information. You select whether you want to register your Accela account as an individual or organization. So I'll select individual for this demonstration. Then I'll select continue. I want to enter all the required information on here. Again, anything with the red asterisk means it's required. Enter my first name as Jane, my last name as Doe, my address as 2 Woodward, city as Detroit, state as Michigan, zip code as 48226. I'll enter my phone number and my email address. The preferred channel, I recommend just selecting email, and then I can select continue. That information was successfully added, as we can see by this green confirmation message. Then I will select continue registration. So this account has been created. We have another green confirmation message at the top here saying that your account was created successfully. You can log in immediately using your username and password. All the information I previously entered is listed down here. And now if I select login now, it's going to automatically log me into that account I just created. So I am inside my Accela account, so we can now demo the rental registration process. To begin, I will select the code enforcement tab at the top. I will check the disclaimer, then select continue application. I want to expand this code enforcement option, and then we'll see that rental registration is one of the 4 choices. Once I select that, I'll select continue application. We're going to get a series of questions over the next couple pages. Again, if it's the red asterisk, that means it's required. If you try to proceed without completing something that has an asterisk, it'll kick it back to you and tell you what's missing. So first question that's required, are you a property owner? Going to select yes. This is optional information, but I'll just enter it for the demo. It's asking for my driver's license and which state it was entered in. So I'm going to select Michigan. Going to enter my driver's license information. And here we get to the attachment section. In this section, we want to attach a copy of our deed, and if you have the lead inspection report, we can attach it here. So to begin the process, you would click add, and then you click add again. I'm going to pull up a sample deed that I have. And on this page, you can add, if you're just doing one file, you could then click continue. If you wanted to add multiple files like I'm doing for this demo, you could just click the add button again. And I can select my lead inspection report and hit open. So now I can see the 2 files I just attached. Now that I'm done uploading files, I can click continue, and that's going to return me to the application. And we'll see the files that we just added here. Again, we have some red asterisks. So it's asking what type of document is this? So for the first one, which is my deed, I'm going to click on the drop-down, select copy of deed. And there is a description. If you want to add additional context to this file, you can, or you can put NA. Here we have the lead inspection report. I'm going to select the type, and I see lead inspection report here. If I wanted to add an additional description, I could add it, or I can select NA. When I'm done uploading my files, then I can select save, and you're going to see these files have now been uploaded. In terms of applicant, you have the option to select from account. So if we click on that, it's going to automatically enter my contact information that I created or entered when I created my account. At any time during this process, if you see a save and resume later, you can click that. It'll save your process. It'll give you something called a TMP number, and you would be able to resume where you left off after you, for example, walked away from your computer or logged off or logged into a different computer. You would be able to resume your progress. So that's just something to keep in mind, the save and resume later button. I'm going to continue with the demo, so I'm going to hit continue application. If you have a management firm for your rental, you can enter that information here. If you have a resident agent for your property, you can enter it here. If not, it can be skipped. You do have to enter a contact name, so I'm going to enter his name and his phone number. When I'm all set with this page, I can hit continue application. And now it's going to ask for the address of that property. So you would enter the street number and the street name. I'm going to use 2 Woodward for my example. And then I'm going to hit search, which is going to validate the address and match it to what we have on our records as a valid address. And you'll see it was able to locate that address. So we have our 2 Woodward and it automatically entered the zip code. If we go down to the parcel section, you'll see that it was able to successfully retrieve the parcel number, the legal description, the area, the land value. It was also able to retrieve the owner information that we have on file. With the note here, if anything is incorrect, yeah, feel free to update it. This is an editable field, so I can make my updates here, and then I can select continue application when I'm all set on this page. So now the system's going to ask us for some basic information on the property. Starting with type of dwelling, I'm going to select 2-family. The year built, I'll enter 2000. Number of stories, 2. Number of units, 2. Total square feet, 4,000. Is this unit owner occupied? I'll select no. Total number of units rented, I will select 2. The number of sleeping units is not required, but I could enter, for example, 4. And the number of commercial units, that is a required field, I will enter 0. Whether or not it's Section 8 housing, yes or no. When I'm all set on this page, then I can hit continue application again. And on this page, this is our review page. So everything we've entered up to this point is listed here on one page. If I have to go back for any reason to any of these sections, I can just select the edit button that's on the right of every section, and it would take me back to that section where I could edit it and update it. If everything looks good, I can check the box, the certification box, and I can hit continue application to submit this rental registration. So I have a green confirmation message saying that the rental registration application was successfully submitted. You'll also see the rental registration number right here, which begins with REG and the year. I would recommend documenting this, that number for future reference. And now we're all set. Thank you for watching.
Thank you, Michael. Right, so next up, we have Crystal Gilbert-Rogers from the Building Safety and Engineering Department.
Good morning, everyone. As Julie indicated, my name is Crystal Gilbert-Rogers, and I'm going to be speaking basically on just some simple tips on how to be a good neighbor. What I want you to keep in mind is that you are responsible for your property from the middle of the street in the front to the middle of the right-of-way or alley in the rear. You are the owner. If you write it into your lease that you are deferring this responsibility to the occupant of the property, you may still receive the violation. What I want you to do at that time is to reach out to us. Send us a copy of your lease and we'll be happy to rewrite that ticket to the occupant of the property. So here are some common ordinances that people run afoul of. We want you to know that your solid waste fee that you pay on your taxes covers regular trash. That's your Corville container being emptied once a week. It covers one Corville container. So if your property has more than one Corville container, you should immediately return that to DPW. Your container can only be at the curb from 6 p.m. the day before to 9 p.m. the day of collection, meaning you can't let your container stay at the curb 24/7. You cannot store your container in your front yard. It must be stored behind the plane of the front door. So yes, it can be stored on the side of the house, but it cannot be stored on the side of the front porch. Yard waste. Yard waste is collected during times that DPW specifies. During yard waste collection times, you are entitled to unlimited yard waste if it's properly packaged. Properly packaged means in those big paper bags or any type of compostable bag or in a container clearly marked as yard waste. You can buy your own garbage can from a hardware store and just get some duct tape and mark it as yard waste. Get a big yard waste sticker. They will empty that container. Yard waste consists of leaves, small twigs, and brush. So if you have small twigs or brush, it must be tied in bundles. These bundles must weigh less than 60 pounds and they can be no longer than 4 feet in length. And each individual twig can be no thicker than 2 inches in diameter. If your yard waste is not in compliance, the contractor will not pick it up and you may receive a violation. Bulk. Bulk is collected year round. This is household bulk. You're entitled to up to 2 cubic yards of bulk. That's about the size of a washer and dryer. Every other week. No construction debris. This is where we usually run into problems with our bulk. Your bulk collection does not include any type of construction debris. No toilets, no fences, no car parts, none of that. Just strictly clothes and furniture, basically. Okay, so I also want you to know, illegal dumping consists of putting your waste anywhere other than in front of your house. You cannot, everybody on the block cannot put all of their bulk materials on the vacant lot. That is illegal dumping. We ask you not to do it. It will eventually get picked up, but it will not be picked up as quickly. And the owner of that vacant lot will receive a violation. So put your solid waste in front of your property. Additionally, you cannot allow solid waste to lie on or about your property. Or if someone has illegally dumped upon you, you cannot just let it sit there. Telling us, I didn't put it there is not a good excuse. Allowing solid waste to lie on or about your property is a violation. So you have to have it removed. We will try and work with you if you have been dumped on. You're a single family residential home and one day you come home and there's 15 tires in front of your house. Probably somebody dumped that on you. We will try and work with you to get a low cost removal solution for that. Additionally, tall grass and weeds over 8 inches are a violation. I know we are in the middle of No Mow May for our environmental people that want to allow their grass to grow a little taller for the pollinators. I will encourage you not to allow it to grow over 8 inches. Anything over 8 inches would be a violation. And again, at this point, I want to remind you, you're responsible for your property from the middle of the street in the front to the middle of the alley in the rear. you are responsible for any weeds growing at the rear of your property, in the alley, along the fence line. These are usually the places that folks kind of forget. Inoperable vehicles. An inoperable vehicle is any vehicle that cannot legally be driven on a street at that moment. If your vehicle is sitting on 4 flat tires, it's inoperable. If it doesn't have current tags, it's inoperable. If the front windshield is knocked out, inoperable. If you have an inoperable vehicle that's an old car that you're fixing up, you want to maintain that inside of a garage. Rodent harborage. This is one that we really want to try and avoid at all costs. Do not feed your pets outside where you just toss out kibble. You're feeding your pets and the local rodent population. Water is another thing that rodents are definitely looking for a source of. You can't just have, you know, a bowl of water sitting out there 24/7 for your pets. Put the water out there when your pet's out. Bring it back in when your pet comes in. Pet waste. You must scoop your poop, even on your own property. If you allow pet waste to lie about your property and don't scoop it, it is a food source for rodents. Okay, rodents do not know the difference between kibble and poop. They'll sit there and munch on it for days and have a good time. So scoop that poop. Don't allow kibble to sit around. Additionally, there are some people that like to feed cats, you know, feral cats, and leave open cans of cat food around. That is not acceptable. That is definitely a rodent harborage and specifically not allowed in the ordinance. You have to maintain your garbage cans. If your can has holes in it, you need to contact your contractor to see about getting a new can. They will try and repair the can or get you a new one for $25, I believe the cost is. What we call a rat hole, you'll see it on the side of your can, a little circle gnawed out of it. That's from a rat, possibly a squirrel, which is a tree rat as far as I'm concerned. That because the rodents like to go into your can and eat the food there, you have to maintain your can in good repair. And finally, and most importantly, if you have any environmental issues that you would like to report, you can contact us at 876-0426. You can go online at the website listed here, or you can use the Improve Detroit app. And I highly encourage you to use the Improve Detroit app, which can be downloaded from the Apple Store or the Google Play Store. Under Improve Detroit app, you can report illegal dumping. You can request road control services. There's a myriad of things that you can go on there and request, and we will get out to service you as soon as we can. And with that, I'm going to say thank you for your attention and let Julie pass it on to the next presenter.
Thank you, Crystal.
Mhm.
All right, so next up, we have Madison Kraus from the Department of Public Works.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for having me here. I can actually go ahead and share my own screen. I've got this pulled up, if that's all right with you. A little bit easier to read that way. But I'm here to talk to you about the recycling opportunities. So we can recycle curbside for single family homes. So those of you who are have tenants in single family homes, you can get free curbside recycling carts. You can go to detroitrecycles.org. I'll also be dropping a link in the chat for you guys to follow. So it's free for single family homes and for multi-family homes with 4 or less units. If you own a property that is 5 or more units, that would be considered a commercial multi-family recycling contract. So this is weekly collection as opposed to bi-weekly collection for the residential program. You get either a 96-gallon or a 450-gallon container. And also this contract includes educational resources. It includes free consultations and a lot of other resources that we provide to our commercial customers. And please note that residential condos are not eligible for this program. You can give me a call if you'd like some more information about that. So I also would like to just briefly give you an overview of what is recyclable in this program. It's single stream, so either the curbside residential or the commercial multifamily program, you can recycle all of these items. So metal cans and steel cans, this is pop cans, soup cans, anything you might find in your kitchen, glass bottles and jars, paper and cardboard, so cereal boxes, newspaper, Amazon boxes, any type of cardboard you might have, paper tubes, paper cups, cartons like orange juice or milk cartons, and then finally plastic. This one is the trickiest one. You're going to want to try to find that recycling symbol with the little number 1 through 7 in there. We're talking about hard plastics like yogurt cups, bottles that you might drink out of, milk jugs, detergent bottles, other things that are hard plastics. As Crystal went into earlier, your yard waste is a separate thing. So this is not a yard waste container. This is a recycling container only, and make sure none of your recyclables are bagged. That's about all I'm going to go into on that. If you'd like some more information about how you can recycle, you can go to our website. Again, I'll be dropping the link in the chat for you all. There's a lot of information on here. You can look at your waste pickup schedule for your property. All you have to do is throw in your address. This is a great tool to give to your tenants as well. Right here, the recycling challenge game. This is where you can sign up for a free recycling cart. It's a really quick game. You just drag all of the recyclable items into the proper container, and then you can sign up for the free cart and order it right online. It'll be delivered to the property in the next few weeks. So you can do that pretty easily by going to our website. We also have on our website, if you click on the commercial recycling program there, you can see this commercial recycling interest form along with a lot of information about how the program works. So you can go ahead, fill that out there, and we'll be in contact with you shortly to set up some time to chat and learn more about the program and to get you recycling as soon as possible. So if you have any more questions, feel free to reach out to me. Like I said, I will be putting my information and all of the information that I've shared today in the chat. So feel free to reach out at any time. Thank you.
Great, thanks, Maddie. Just a reminder, Maddie said she's going to share all of her content in the chat, but we will be sending out an email with the PowerPoint and the links that were shared today. So the links on the city website for DPW, as well as links for the city website with rental registration, how to get to that ELAPS where Michael Wheeler showed us how to register your property. So we will be sending that out at the end. We will also be posting it on the rental page of the city website. So if you have joined late or you need to leave early, we will be sharing all of that as well as a recording of this. So please rest assured that you can go back and you can watch this, as well as resources will be shared, and then contacts for the departments that have shared. It might not necessarily be the person that presented today, but who to contact if you have questions from the property maintenance division, from the environmental division, from DPW. We will put all of that in our follow-up email that will come out probably early next week. So give us a couple days to pull everything together and to keep working through this. But just a reminder, we will be sharing that. Next up, we have Jennifer Schutz from the state of Michigan.
Good morning. My name is Jennifer Schutz, and I just wanted to talk about landlord responsibilities for when an elevated blood lead level child is identified in a rental unit. So what is MCL 333-5475? In short, rental unit containing lead hazards. We also refer to it as the landlord penalty law. This is a law located within the Lead Abatement Act that covers rental units that contain children with an elevated blood level of 10 micrograms or more of lead per deciliter of venous blood. So basically, once a child is identified to have an EBL, an environmental investigation is conducted. This is the same type of inspection, landlords are required to have for the initial ordinance requirements. The only difference is that it adds in additional items for testing that is not usually tested during that regular lead inspection risk assessment. For example, they test like dishes, spices, toys, and other items just in case, just to narrow down and make sure that they know the cause for the EBL. So what happens kind of after that? Usually the family will submit an application for the lead safe home program to remove lead hazards from the home. And, the responsibility is landlord and the owner of the building, we can't conduct any work without your permission. So signing the application provides that permission and also kind of covers what I'm going to get into later with what this law kind of requires, you to do as a landlord. So what is the department's goal with this law? Our goal is to create a lead safe home for the child and future tenants. So if you're a landlord, you have a child that's 10 or above in your rental unit, and your tenant comes up to you with this application for the lead safe home program, or it should be the lead safe home program to conduct work on the property. Of course, you're not required to sign the application by any means. If you do sign the application, that just gives us permission to basically do all the things the ordinance wants you to do as well, which is, remove the lead hazards from the home, get a clearance, and that'll also comply with what we require for landlord penalty for you to be compliant with that. But of course, you don't have to do that. We've had several landlords, over the last couple of years, hire out their own contractor and get us the final clearance report and everything like that. So basically what we look for here is when you have a child with an EBL, an investigation is done, that investigation is sent to the landlord. The landlord has 90 days to provide, to remove the lead hazards. And we all know, 90 days is kind of impossible with the workforce. So we just have, in the past and currently been working with landlords on an individual basis, just to keep up with work is going to be conducted, what steps they're taking, whether they're going to comply and work through the lead safe home program, or if they're going to hire a contractor on their own. So that's kind of what we do after 90 days has passed. So as long as you're making a good faith effort to make the rental property lead safe, we like to work with the landlords to do that. Our goal is not to just slap violations on landlords and, create further issues in that area. We just want to ensure that there is a lead safe home for either the current family in the home or a family that could potentially occupy the home, because I do know that tenants do tend to leave the home. But that does not mitigate your responsibility for ensuring that that rental property is lead safe. So even if the tenants leave, you're still responsible for doing that. So you have the ordinance requirements. And as long as you're meeting the ordinance requirements, we really shouldn't have an EBL child per se, technically. If you do not have like a good faith effort in removing the lead hazards, we can issue violations. It's not something that we like to do. We like to work with the landlord, of course, but that is always an option for us. If we do not get responses after, issuing those violations, we do tend to work with the city on reporting that to the city that the property contains lead hazards and it has harmed somebody in the property. And the city can take action from there. There is also criminal penalties that can happen as well due to non-compliance. But in the end, the goal is to work with the landlord and the family to create a lead safe work environment. So, and I can answer any questions at the end of the presentation.
Thanks, Jennifer. Appreciate that update.
Thank you.
So next we're going to go to Elaine Peterson from the Housing and Revitalization Department.
Good morning, everyone. So as Julie mentioned, Elaine Peterson, I am a program analyst with the Housing and Revitalization Department and wanted to take a few moments to discuss with you some of the resources that we offer, both resources and support for landlords through our department. So the first one, which is the one that I'm assuming most of you are most familiar with, is our Detroit Lead Safe Housing Program. That's available both for owner occupants as well as landlords. And I'll go into the specifics of that program in just a minute. I also wanted to mention that we are also in the process of designing a new program that is funded through ARPA, which is the American Rescue Plan Act. So that is a program that does not yet exist, but is still in planning phases and will be available soon. That program is going to consist of some more financial assistance in the form of loans and grants, as well as offering a host of training courses. And those courses would be things such as RRP certification, property management best practices, a training on local, state, and federal requirements for operating a rental property, lead abatement supervisor, worker, contractor development. So a number of course topics there that would be relevant for owning and operating a rental property. And then lastly, we also wanted to mention that within our department, we also are focused on conducting market analysis and studies, and that is to continue to refine our understanding of Detroit's rental market and the frustrations and challenges that landlords face. So continuing to, again, refine our understanding is certainly important to us. Great, so now we're going to talk through some specifics of the Detroit-led Safe Housing Program. So what does it do? It provides a LERA, a lead inspection risk assessment. Based on that, lead hazard reduction activities, and then ultimately does get you that lead clearance, all of which are required with Detroit's rental ordinance. Sometimes this program is also able to fund non-lead emergency repair items as well. So who is eligible for this program? Homes that are built before 1978. They do have to be low-income households. And by low income, see the chart to the right, which describes based on household size and maximum income. There also has to be a child present under the age of 6 or who frequently visits, or a pregnant woman. The property needs to be registered as a rental property with BSEED. And for this program, it is for homes that are located just within zip code 48209. So the question is normally, what's the catch? There is no catch. So again, this is a program that's available for landlords for lead remediation and ensuring that their properties are lead safe. So a couple of things though to keep in mind with this program: landlords are responsible for providing relocation for their tenants during the lead work, which is on average between 10 and 14 days. A lien is placed on the home for 5 years. If the home is sold, a prorated amount is owed back to the city. If the home is not occupied by a low or moderate income tenant, payback may be required. And as part of this program, the landlord can't raise rent unless there is a change in occupancy. So how do you apply? A couple of ways. You can click on the link provided to fill out the application form, or you can scan the QR code. You can also send an email to get the lead out at detroitmi.gov, or you can call the full number listed, and Spanish speakers are available as well. So a couple other items for you to know, again, is regarding the Detroit Lead Safe Housing Program. Both the tenant and the landlord must agree to participate in this program. The maximum number of units eligible for assistance does vary. And if you are a landlord outside the target zip code of 48209, we recommend that you visit the michigan.gov webpage for other statewide lead programs to see if you are applicable for those. And I believe that's it. So certainly we'll stick around for any questions at the end, but we'll turn it back over to Julie.
Great, thanks, Elena. So next we're going to hear from Valerie McIntosh regarding the CERA COVID emergency rental assistance.
So good morning, everyone. I'm not sure if you can hear me because I can't see myself on the video now.
We can hear you.
You can hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Well, good morning. I'm Valerie McIntosh, the City of Detroit's Emergency Rental Assistance Program Manager. And I'm here to talk to you briefly about the COVID-19 Emergency Rental Assistance Program, also known as CERA. Many of you are familiar with CERA. The program is designed to help landlords and tenants by providing direct financial assistance in the form of past and future rental payments and utility assistance. Payouts are made directly to the landlord unless you're unresponsive for 14 days. Then the payment can go directly to the tenant. And CERA does not require an eviction proceeding being filed, but a past due notice is necessary for the program. Some of the specifics that CERA provides are up to 18 months of direct financial assistance, and that's rental payments and utility assistance. And for eligible households, they must be at or below 80% of the area median income. And for a household of 4, that's about $62,800. The tenant must also have experienced a COVID-19 hardship since March 13th, 2020. And that hardship can include things such as the loss of income. Some of the recent changes in the program include that CERA will pay rent, including future rent, up until September 2022. The tenant must have had rental arrears before March 30th, 2022. And what's new is the Mich CERA application portal will be closing to new applications within the next couple of months. And that announcement will come directly from Mich, probably about 2 weeks prior to the close date. However, the City of Detroit's agencies will continue processing CERA applications and rental assistance payments until after the portal closes. So until fall of this year. So that's the September 2022 deadline. Still, the quickest and easiest way to apply to the program is through DetroitEvictionHelp.com. And for those who don't have internet access or may require a navigation appointment, please call the Detroit Eviction Helpline. Thank you.
Thank you, Valerie. Appreciate that. Next up, we are going to hear from Ericka Savage. She is the manager of the Department of Appeals and Hearings, or more commonly known as DAH.
Good morning. I can't see either, so I'm just going to go right through it. Good morning. My name is Ericka Savage. As she indicated, I am the manager of the DAH. For those of you who are not familiar, and hopefully you're not very familiar with us, we basically focus on the code enforcement and adjudicate the cases against property owners who fail to maintain their property. So basically, we're like a blight court. We're a quasi-judicial branch of the City of Detroit where we assist residents who may not knowingly know that they're not in compliance with the blight code. So some of the things that we want you to know when you come to our hearings that are in place is that we have a warning system for blight ticket violations, a reduction in fine amounts that can be imposed. When people when people are property owners, you can actually have the fine waived, and that there is a lot of discretion in how we can determine the fine amounts. So that's overall the overview of us. So what is a blight violation? A blight violation is our city ordinances basically address how property owners must maintain the exterior of their property. And then the city is going to issue a blight violation. A lot of the people that you've heard from today are a part of that process. And the main things that we pretty much deal with are property maintenance issues, zoning issues, and solid waste issues. So some of the things that you heard today, like about the Corville containers, solid waste, when the presenter indicated that you're responsible from the front of the street of your property to the back alley, you come before DAH and we're actually hearing your testimony regarding why you felt like your Corville container was not placed out late or what have you. So these are the main things that come before us. So who issues the blight violation notices? Again, a lot of the people you're hearing from today in their departments, in addition to police officers and sometimes other city officials who are going to investigate a complaint when contacted. One big thing about DAH and who we typically meet are the property owners. And I guess it's important for my role to say that a lot as landlords, a lot of times you don't live in the property. A lot of times we hear that I have not been in contact with the person in the property. They won't let me in. I'm going through an eviction proceeding. I mean, there's a lot of things that we hear when a person appears in court, but generally speaking, the blight violation notices are always, almost always, issued to the property owner. So it's one thing that when we have a second to kind of, you know, have a chat with the property owner, we let them know you have to do your part to make sure that you know what's going on with your property. If you're going through an eviction or things like that are in play, the court does not have a lot of discretion to look into those things. We get into whether or not there was a violation that exists at that property on that day and that time that the violation notice was written. Okay. Okay, so what happens when a blight violation notice is issued? So you are called a respondent, you come, you get a description of your violation, and it's going to have a hearing date and time on it when you receive it. The inspectors, they post it on the property and they place it in the mail. And so the moment you get a blight violation notice, again, one of the things that we hear in the court is that I didn't get it, the tenant didn't give it to me. Again, these are not these are not issues that the court can concern itself with. As property owners, landlords, you have to be responsible for knowing about the mailings and the are kept on file and those types of things. So once you receive the blight violation notice, you can admit responsibility. If you pay early, there's a reduction by 10%. You can attend the hearing with or without an attorney. We do have attorneys who come. Or you can go to the hearing and be found responsible or not responsible. But if you do not pay on the date of the hearing, you will have an administrative fee. I'm sorry, is administrative fee added to all hearings that are found responsible, and there's also a 10% penalty imposed for any late payment of funds. So the hearing process itself, if you come, you will have an opportunity to present a defense of your violation. We are right now holding them all on Zoom. We are kind of going to go towards a hybrid process soon, but right now they're all on Zoom. The administrative hearing officers are who hear your matters. They're all licensed attorneys. And at the conclusion of the hearing, they make a finding and they issue a decision and order. And it's considered to be a state civil judgment. So it's treated the same way as any other state court judgment at the conclusion. Payment options, once you are, either if you want to admit responsibility or if you're found responsible, you can pay in person, excuse me. We accept all things cash, personal checks, money orders. You can mail it to us. You can pay by a credit card via the telephone. And then there's an online system where you can pay. And it's up there. I believe you're all going to receive a copy of this presentation. But if you go on the city website under How Do I Pay, you'll see where you can also pay the blight violation. And again, as I noted before, it will be reduced by 10% if you pay early or before the hearing date. If the payment is not made, you will be in default. And a judgment of default just means that, you know, you're responsible basically for the violation. And if you still do not contact us, you know, the paperwork will come in the mail, and we go forward with collections actions, garnishments of wages, attaching to bank accounts, assets. I mean, that is the extreme, but that will happen, especially if you are a major violator or repeated violator and your judgments go unpaid. We do continue with collection and garnishment actions. Can it be appealed, your decision? Yes, 28 days from the order, you can have your judgment appealed. And at the Wayne County Circuit Court. And you can also file a motion to set aside the default within 21 days of the hearing. So that's for everyone who says, I did not know, or some other circumstances where you did not come, you can file a motion to set aside any type of default, but you will have to pay a bond for the amount of the tickets that will hold until the conclusion of the hearing. So, and so then how can you obtain information about your case? Or maybe you just want to find out if you have any pending tickets for your property in the DAH system. You can go up on the city website, and there's a button that says look up pay blight tickets. If you go to the City of Detroit website, Department of Appeals and Hearings, I think it's just detroitmi.gov/DAH. You can look up blight tickets for your property. You just put in the address, and it might be some that are on there that were before you even got the property or purchased it that you didn't know about. They should all be on there, and you can pay them as well. So that is all for me.
Thanks, Ericka. Appreciate the update. So next I'm going to introduce Sam Fleming. He is also a building inspector supervisor with the Building Safety and Engineering Department, and he is going to introduce our third party inspection companies.
Good morning, all. Hello? Good morning.
We can
all.
hear you, Sam.
How you doing today? How's everyone today? We have 4 different companies that are allowed to actually perform third-party inspection. One is the first company is Detroit Inspection Group. They can be reached at http://www.detroitinspectiongroup.com. Telephone number 313-879-0490. Second company is Prospection. They can be reached at http://buildinginspection.com/. Telephone number 734-224-8979. Third company is ETC Environmental Testing and Consulting, Inc. The email http://rental-property-owners/. Telephone number 734-955-6600. 4 companies Safe Built Inspection can be reached at http://DetroitRentalInspection.com. Can be reached at 313-920-5143. If you wish to contact me, I can be reached at Fleming's, FLEMINGS, @detroitmi.gov. So the companies that I introduced to you, they have different people of contact. I did not go through their names because I wasn't sure if they wanted their names out there this time.
So we do have a couple participants that are representing the 4 companies. So if you would like to introduce yourself, you are welcome to. Otherwise, again, we will be sharing all of this information after the presentation sometime early next week with all of our callers.
Good morning. My name is Andre Wilcock. I'm the lead inspector for Safe Built.
Thanks, Andre.
Yes. Hi, this is John Martin with Prospections. We are approved third-party inspection company, have been involved in rental inspections for over 35 years, since 1987. Our inspection fees are pretty much the same as everyone else's, $150 for the initial inspection and $74 for the re-inspection. Our inspections are valid for 1 year from the date of the inspection, and the city will honor them. My understanding for that 1 year period. We also have available lead inspectors to do lead inspections. Thank you for the opportunity to speak to you.
Thanks, John.
You're welcome.
Anyone else want? Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry, sir. I'm Clarence Buck with the Inspection Group and Detroit Inspection Group. And you can check out our website there. We have, you can choose your times for inspections. We have 6 inspectors presently and are adding a 7th, as well as we have 4 lead inspectors available to you. So there's generally availability fairly quickly, depending on the timeframes that you want to do them. We invite you to check us out. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Anyone from ETC? Okay, well.
Excuse me, this is John with Prospections again. I would like to just make a correction. Sam, when you gave our email address,
okay,
it is not building inspections, it is building inspect.
Okay.
.com.
Yeah. If someone contacts me, I will actually make sure I sends it out to them in by correspondence.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, so landlords, the city also performed inspections. They performed inspection. They performed inspection of 1 and 2. We perform inspection in 3 and above. So if you need inspection with 3 and above, please contact the City of Detroit Building Safety Engineering. You can contact me, as I stated before. My email is Fleming, FLEMINGSS @detroitmi.gov.
Thanks, Sam.
Okay.
All right, and then our general number 2 that you can schedule is 313-628-2451. So at this point, we are going to go through the questions that we have received in the chat. So I'm just going to start with the top of what we've received. And, there were a lot of questions regarding receiving a copy of the presentation, as well as panelist contact information and a copy of the recording. Yes, we will be sending all of that out. If you registered online with us, we will be sending it to all of the email addresses that were registered, even if people did not attend today. And all of these things will also be posted on the rental portion of the city website. So just a reminder that will all be available at the end. So first couple questions is, what is the processing time for a rental registration? I'm going to answer some of these if I can. So the first answer is that we are processing them on a first come, first serve basis. So if you turned yours in today and your neighbor turns them in tomorrow, yours is going to be processed first. So we're doing them as they come in. It should be no more than 2 weeks from when you submit your registration or information for an inspection, like a lead document or your federal inspection paperwork. So if you, within 2 weeks, if you have not heard from us, please let us know, but it's before 2 weeks, please give us that processing time. We've seen a large influx recently with the recent ordinance modifications that have come in. So just please keep that in mind, that we are working through these as quickly as we can. We've also had a lot of questions regarding the federal inspections. So federal inspections, or commonly known as Section 8 inspections, are the same thing. We are accepting these inspections, as Supervisor Rushin said. We do need a copy of a past inspection report that is within the last year and a half. So if your inspection was done in 2021 or earlier, we will accept that. You need to upload that to your ELAPS account, and we will issue you a certificate of compliance if it is a past inspection. Unfortunately, we cannot accept a statement from your housing commission saying that you received payment. We do need a copy of some sort of inspection document stating when the inspection occurred and if it was passed or failed. So I know there are a few of the housing commissions that are in the area that are working on modifying their inspection documentation requirements. So please contact your housing commission and let them know that this is now a requirement from the City of Detroit. The Detroit Housing Commission knows what our requirements are, but if you receive your voucher from a different area Housing Commission, let them know that this is what we need, and then you can avoid having 2 sets of inspections. The next question I had is, will the city automatically issue the longer term certificate of compliance based on the property history of compliance and lead test results, or does the property owner have to request it? So keep in mind, the modifications are, the longer term certificates of compliance are newly issued certificates of compliance. So if you have a certificate of compliance that was issued last year, let's say, but because of what you had submitted, now would qualify for a 4-year or potentially 7 if you completely abated your property. You're only going to receive that 3-year certificate of compliance right now. Upon renewal is when you will have that longer term certificate of compliance. We had the question regarding demonstrating how to upload documents into ELAPS. That was completed by Michael Wheeler, and I don't think we had gotten to that portion of the presentation yet. So again, there are videos on the city website too that have really good directionals that actually Michael put together himself. So they're very nicely done. So go ahead and check out the website first, see if it's there, or go ahead and rewatch the presentation when we send that out. When obtaining a certificate of occupancy or certificate of compliance for a duplex, do you receive a separate certificate of compliance for each, or is one certificate of compliance issued that covers both? I'm going to pass this answer to Arthur Rushin because there are some nuances now with the acceptance of federal inspections.
Thank you, Ms. Fowler. As far as duplexes, if it has separate parcel ID numbers, then you will receive a certificate of compliance for each unit. If it is just one parcel number, then it is a certificate of compliance for that building. Now, if you have the 2-family and one unit is Section 8 and the other unit is not Section 8, then for the Section 8 unit, you won't need a lead clearance. But for the one that is not Section 8, you would need a lead clearance for that unit.
Great, thank you. Our next question is going to go to Crystal. The question is, can a refrigerator or stove be picked up for bulk trash day?
Sorry, had a problem unmuting. Yes, please take the door off. The door is off, and it can be picked up for under bulk.
Great, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
We had a question that what's the turnaround time when filing a complaint? I'm not sure what type of complaint you are referring to. If it is property maintenance, so if you're submitting it, if you're a tenant or another landlord or property owner, our complaints typically are responded to within 48 hours, emergencies 24 business hours. And I believe Crystal's team from the environmental office is roughly the same timing as well. For recycling, do we pick up the bin or apply for the link to deliver the recycling bin? And that goes to Maddie. And it looks like she might have responded to that already. But Maddie, if you could give some clarification if the bins are picked up or not. Looks like we lost her. So I will get clarification on that one and get back with everybody. I'm going to just keep going through. The next question is, are landlords able to request proof from an applicant showing that children have tested negative for lead before accepting them as tenants? Asking because if your property passes a lead test, but then a tenant's child tests positive for lead while on the property, how would we know whether or not the child was lead positive before they moved in? I think this is somewhat of a combination of possibly Jennifer Schutz and Arthur, but this is definitely not this is more of a legal question, and unfortunately we don't have any attorneys, but Jennifer might be able to, or Arthur might be able to provide an answer for this one.
Jennifer will probably be the best person to answer this question.
I'm sorry, what was the question?
Yep. So the question is, are landlords able to request proof from an applicant showing that children have tested negative for lead before accepting them as a tenant? Asking because if your property passes a lead test, but then a tenant's child tests positive for lead while in the property, how would we know whether or not the child was lead positive before they moved in?
Yeah, that might be a Lakeshore legal question. I don't think I can answer that question because, blood lead data is protected health information. So I do just want to make that clear that I don't think, and this is my opinion, of course, because I'm not a legal expert, but with it being protected health information, I mean, it's basically like asking somebody if they have diabetes or something to move into your property. It just wouldn't be appropriate because that's their protected health information. But yeah, a lawyer, legal, Lakeshore legal aid should be able to respond to that answer, I would assume.
Okay, thank you. There is a question regarding if there is a website for vendors that do lead inspections. Yes, you can go to the state of Michigan website to find a list of certified lead inspectors. So it's michigan.gov/lead. And then homes built after 1978 do not need a lead-based paint inspection. So you would just need to provide proof of when the home was built, and then you would be exempt from any lead requirements. Elena, there is a question for you regarding the zip codes that are available for your lead abatement programs. Why is it specific zip codes?
Yes, so the reason for that is that the money that was awarded to the city through the grant was a limited dollar amount. And so the city had to do analysis in terms of how to best target the limited funding. And so based on the age of properties, the number of rental units, and the highest likelihood of children living in those rental units, that's how zip code 48209 was selected. So as we continue to get additional funding for programs, we are obviously looking to expand to other zip codes. I do want to note that for that new program that I mentioned that is not open yet, that we are still in the planning phases of, that will be open to all zip codes. So happy to report that there will likely though still be eligibility requirements. And so those will be shared out obviously as that program becomes available.
Great, thank you. The next question is, what is the cost to get a certificate of compliance from the city? There are no fees for the city that you would have to pay us directly to get a certificate of compliance. Registration is free. Where the expenses come in are when you have to pay for your inspection fees. So if you are a 1 and 2 family property and you receive your inspection from a third party, you would pay them. If you're a multifamily property and our inspectors from BSEED do your inspection, you would pay the inspection cost to us. But there is no rental application fee or anything like that. You do need to pay your outstanding BSEED fees and outstanding blight tickets on the property as well. But there are no direct fees for application for a certificate of compliance. The next question we have, are there CERA funds still available? And that goes to Valerie.
So yes, we do still have CERA funds available. As I mentioned before, the portal will be closing to new applications pretty soon. So you want to make sure you go to that website or call the eviction helpline so that you can get your application in and processed.
Okay, and the next couple ones are for you as well, Valerie. So
okay.
Who initiates an application, the tenant or the landlord?
Either one, but we do have to have the tenant's participation for the program.
Great. Next one is, where do the payments go? Is it the landlord or the tenant?
The payments go to the landlord unless they are unresponsive for more than 14 days. In that case, it will go over to the tenant.
Okay. And then the next question is, if my tenant has been approved, how can I check if payment has been received after months?
If you log into the application portal, you can check the application status, and you can also call the eviction helpline, and they can get you over to the connect or call center to check the application.
Okay. The next question is for Crystal. I received a blight ticket for a tenant occupied property where the tenant put their trash can out too early. Am I responsible for the ticket, or may I have the tenant pay it?
That would depend on what your lease says. If your lease indicates that your tenant is responsible, you can surely send us a copy of your lease and we'll be willing to rewrite that violation to the leasee. If not explicitly said in the lease, then you are responsible as the owner of the property, and you're fully capable of passing along those fees to your tenant.
Great, thank you. There's a question regarding the ARPA-led funds that Elena, that you had mentioned. Do you have an idea of when that program will be announced, and how landlords can sign up to get information about it?
Sure. So again, still in planning phases. So I have rough estimates, but again, not set in stone. Trainings will likely be available, I believe, fall of this year. Again, there's going to be multiple courses offered, and then the financial assistance likely will not be available until early next year. But certainly we will have information regarding those programs on the website, on HRD's website. So you can go to detroitmi.gov and then click on departments and navigate over to the Housing and Revitalization Department. And we would have all information regarding the program there. There likely will be other outlets as well, but it will at least be on HRD's website.
Great. The next set of questions is going to DAH, so to Ericka. If you purchase a property that has old blight tickets existing prior to your purchase, will the new owner be held responsible, or will they be waived? Ericka, are you still on with us?
Oh, yes, I am. I am sorry. Could you please repeat the question?
Yep. So if you purchase a property that has old blight tickets existing prior to your purchase, will the new owner be held responsible, or will they be waived?
Typically speaking, you would not be held responsible for something that was prior to you owning the property. But what we found is that a blight clearance report will often be required prior to you being able to pull any permits, or sometimes people even purchasing the property. So sometimes people have to deal with the outstanding tickets on the prior to even doing things to fix up the property. So I would strongly recommend, when you're about to purchase a property, or before you start to do major improvements on the property, to look it up to see if there's any outstanding violations. But typically the court, no, you do not, if you come to court, hold you responsible for things that were prior to you owning the property.
Great. The next question is for you as well, Ericka. So if the blight ticket is paid on the Sunday prior to a Monday court day, will a 10% discount still apply?
Yes.
Yes.
Great. Let's see.
Can I just add to that? I'm sorry, but
Yes.
just note that you won't have the option of paying with a service person with the department on a Sunday. So if you're going to do it on a Sunday, it has to be one of the options online, one of the digital options, because if you're calling in, we do not have customer service reps on a Sunday.
Great, thank you. The next question is going to go to Supervisor Rushin. There are some other non-Section 8 agencies like NLS that perform inspections before their tenants rent the homes. Can we receive a previous inspection report from them as well, even though they aren't Section 8?
If it's a government inspection, as long as it is a government inspection, you can upload that through your ELAPS account, as long as it has the date that the inspection was performed and that it clearly states that it did pass an inspection.
Okay, thank you. The next question is lead inspection still required on a Section 8 property that has passed a federal inspection? No. So your federal inspection, your government inspection, will replace either the BSEED or third-party inspection and the lead inspection requirement of the ordinance. Keep in mind, as Supervisor Rushin has said, if it is a one family, we just need that one inspection. If there are multiple units, in order to receive a certificate of compliance, all of those units need to be either federally inspected properties with past government inspections, or if it's a split building, the property, or the units that are not government inspected need to be inspected by either a third party or the city of Detroit. Okay, so this question. This is kind of a combination for Ericka and Supervisor Rushin. So why would landlords be held accountable to pay fines when the information you are providing here today about the requirements and various departments have not been made known to them? And why would a landlord be charged a fine if they were not able to access their property to complete a certificate of compliance due to COVID and lack of cooperation from the tenant? How is this issue addressed and with fairness? So I'm going to take a first step at the first part of the question. All of this information previously to the ordinance modification was available on the BSEED website, as well as information from the state. When the modifications were approved by council at the beginning of the year, we updated our website. So the information is out there. The ordinance has been in place for years prior to this, but now I'm going to pass on the question of why would a landlord be charged if they cannot access their property due to COVID or lack of tenant cooperation?
So I'll go first as far as, so some of the challenges that property owners had during COVID, we completely understand some of the challenges. And so we do as much as we can try to work with a property owner. However, if that property owner did not register their rental property and has not attempted to schedule a lead inspection risk assessment, or cannot provide us with proof that they've gone through the process of documenting that the tenant is refusing to allow them to start the process and to come into compliance, they can reach out to us and let us know, and we'll work with them as much as we can. But tenant landlord relationships, we don't get in between.
And on the DAH side, it's really, as I stated in my presentation, about the nature of the violation on the date and time that it was issued. So although, we all can sympathize with all the issues going on, if you're there because you did not register the property or you did not have your proper certificates, the fact that the person won't let you in to get the proper certificates lets you know that we've already passed. Now you're just trying to get in compliance. So the court is not really we're concerned with, was the violation there on the date you were issued the ticket? When you're trying to work it through with BSEED or whomever, the police, to get it rectified and into compliance, that is keeping you from getting subsequent citations. So, I mean, if there is some type of circumstance that the violation arose at the moment that the tenant was in there legally, and the violation is something related to some strange factor of events, I mean, yeah, the hearing officer will probably look at it. But in most cases, it's you were already in violation because it wasn't registered or the certificate was not there. And that's the reason why we don't get into that relationship in that back.
Great, thank you. Received a couple questions regarding federal inspections again. A federal inspection is what we would accept in lieu of a third party or BSEED inspection. All rental properties in the city of Detroit are still required to have a certificate of compliance, even if you receive federal inspections. So that is just what we would accept as your inspection. A federal inspection or being a voucher recipient does not mean you are certified as a rental property in the city of Detroit. Other questions that we've received are, if you want to know if your property has a certificate of compliance, you can go to detroitmi.gov, and at the bottom of the page, there is a My Home Info tool, and you can type in the address of your property, and it will let you know if the property is registered, if the property has a certificate of compliance, and there's all sorts of other useful information on there. What day your trash is getting picked up, what day your bulk trash is, who your neighborhood police officer is, who your council member is. All sorts of information is available from that My Home Info tool. We unfortunately, we have a couple people asking for contractors. Unfortunately, the city cannot recommend a contractor. That is up to the property owner to find licensed contractors to do work and repairs on your home. Next question is, do we have to submit to recertify after the certificate has expired or wait for the notice from the city? I would highly recommend that you are a proactive property owner and that you take this upon yourself to get us the updated documents, the updated inspection reports. If you have moved or your mailing address has changed, you need to update that, especially if you moved since the last time we issued a rental registration or a certificate of compliance. We don't have a way of contacting you then, or a way of mailing you then. The city is still working through, all sorts of communication tools on how we can better reach our landlords and property owners. So the best way you can do that is to keep your ELAPS account updated with the best contact information for you, whether it's email or mail. Once I register on ELAPS, what happens next? Do I get notifications of need for inspections? Yes. When you register your property, you will receive an inspection notice of what you need to do next. It will tell you if you are a federal, it will give you 3 options of either schedule your inspection with a third party, or schedule with BSEED if you're multi-unit, or provide us with your federal inspection paperwork and we will issue that certificate of compliance. But all of the directions on how to be in compliance, again, are on the City of Detroit website on the rental page. The next question is for Crystal. What happens when GFL doesn't pick up yard waste and says they will pick up when they can, which means the containers must be out past the regular pickup time?
Generally, we are aware of the situation when GFL is behind on either yard waste or bulk pickup or recycling or even regular Corville collection. But sometimes it happens that we are not. I recommend that you call GFL and get a customer, I guess they call it an issue number or a complaint number. And if you do receive a ticket, give us a call and we'll look that up. And if we can verify it, we'll happily dismiss the ticket. We do try not to go out when we know they are behind. It's no point in us. If we know GFL is behind on yard waste, we're not going to hit a block and write everybody yard waste tickets. But what we do find that happens sometimes is that one person will put their stuff out on the wrong week, and everybody else will assume that that person knows what they're doing, and they put their stuff out, and sometimes everybody ends up with a ticket that way. But if you ever end up with a ticket and you feel like it was issued incorrectly for some reason, please give us a call. We're happy to discuss why you got the ticket and, you know, dismiss it if we were in the wrong.
Okay. Next question, Supervisor Rushin. Is a landlord responsible for posting their lead clearance at their rental property?
No, they are not required to post a copy of their lead clearance at the property. However, they are required to allow the tenant to review that lead report.
Great. We've had a couple questions regarding emails that BSEED has been sending out over the last couple months. We have decided to take a little bit more of a proactive approach in letting property owners know where they're at and what is outstanding on getting their properties into compliance. We are working on getting addresses attached to those emails so that you know exactly which property we are referring to in those emails. And I do anticipate that the emails that are going out this month will have the individual addresses associated with them. So we are aware that this is causing some confusion for landlords, especially if you have multiple properties and that you have multiple properties that you're working on bringing into compliance. So bear with us. We are working through some technology issues. When we send out those emails, we are sending roughly 800 emails at a time to property owners. So we are trying to avoid a huge influx of calls and emails to the person who is sending those out. So we are working on that with our IT department so that we can get you some additional information. But one of the comments out of last meeting was, how do we know where we are at and what is outstanding? So like I said, bear with us. This month we should be able to get you individualized emails letting you know what is outstanding. The next question is going back to Valerie. If we don't want to accept CERA funds, is the tenant still able to get back rent checks?
So if the landlord is unresponsive, again, we will pay out to the tenant. In certain cases, there may be exceptions. So you'll want to contact the eviction helpline to get connected with the Connect Center or the call center for specific questions like that.
Okay. And then what is the timeline from submission to approval for a CERA application?
Oh, that's a good question. We're steadily working on processing. So we have so many applications in the lineup right now. So that's why the portal will be closing soon to new applications. I don't have a specific timeline that I can give, but you always have the ability to check on the status of the application. Once a processor is assigned, you'll have access to phone numbers for that processor, and they should be able to help you every step of the way.
Great, thank you. Next question is, does City of Detroit have any mold inspector testing for homes with young children? Unfortunately, the city does not test for mold. You would need to contract a individual inspection company for that. And again, similar to contractors, we cannot recommend somebody that can come out and do that for you. What's the point of contact for blight tickets? That's the Department of Appeals and Hearings. And if you're, like Crystal said, if the blight ticket that you received is something that is specifically written in your lease that is your tenant's responsibility, you need to bring your lease to your hearing or show that to the inspector that issued the ticket, and the ticket would be reissued to the tenant. But to be clear, that needs to be in your written lease that it is the tenant's responsibility. Regarding ELAPS questions, if you need additional support with ELAPS, you can email bseesupport@detroitmi.gov. And you can ask questions there. If there are specific questions related to a property that is not getting processed, you can contact our office, the Property Maintenance Office, which is 313-628-2451. Registration is done on ELAPS. All properties in the city of Detroit are required to be registered. If you had previously registered, so anytime prior to 2022, you will need to re-register one more time. The new modifications to the ordinance, if you registered in 2022, your registration is permanent unless there is a change of use or that you sell the property. If that happens, you need to let us know. We don't know if you sold the property. We don't know if it went from a rental to owner occupied. So you need to keep us in the loop when those things change. So just let us know when those change. But if you were not registered this year, go ahead and re-register so that you have a permanent registration going forward. A certificate of compliance with a federal inspection is a 3-year certificate of compliance. Blight ticket properties, if it's related to trash, you will need to contact Crystal's department. If it's tenant related, like she said, you need to prove that it is on the lease, that it is the tenant's responsibility to take care of any of the environmental related tickets that you've received. Let's see. What is the warning system in place before receiving a blight ticket? So Inspector Potenga spoke to this. When we receive a complaint on a property, we go out and we investigate and we issue that property owner a correction order. So the correction order is our warning system to the property owner. That correction order does have a date of when you need to bring the property into compliance and what violations we found while we were on site. Call us when those violations have been remediated and we will come back out and do a re-inspection. If you do not make those repairs and you do not contact us, then our next step is at the end of that correction order date, then we would issue you a blight ticket. If you make the repairs and you correct the violations, no blight ticket would be issued.
Can I jump in here, Julie? And
yes, absolutely.
Let everybody know that environmental follows a different procedure. For occupied properties with less than 10 cubic yards of debris, we will issue a 48-hour warning notice to the property. It will be posted on the property and it is only 48 hours, after which time we will re-inspect, and if the violation is still there, you'll receive a ticket. If it is more than 10 cubic yards of debris, or you have previously received a warning in the previous year, then you are not entitled to another warning and we will write that ticket immediately. Again, these are for environmental violations that tend to be for trash. And your neighbors should not have to look at trash for an entire month. That's why our ordinances are a little bit different. So that's how we're a little bit different than property maintenance in that way. Thanks, Julie.
Yep. So the next one's going to go to Supervisor Rushin. Our lease states tenants are responsible for leaving smoke detectors in place and removal would be a lease violation. If a BSEED inspector inspects the unit and smoke detectors are removed, can we show the court or the inspectors that the tenant agreed to not remove the smoke detector per their signed lease and have the ticket issued to the tenant?
All right, in situations like that, excuse me, in situations like that, there's no way for us to determine who removed the smoke detector. And so the responsibility still falls on the property owner to make sure that that smoke detector is up. Usually if especially if this is an apartment building. We always encourage the property owner to schedule the inspection. And in most cases, the manager or a maintenance person will accompany us on that annual inspection. And if we come to a situation where a smoke detector has been taken down, then we do give them an opportunity that same day to replace that smoke detector.
Great, thank you. Next question, what are the reasons a landlord's request for a certificate of compliance would be denied? Possible reasons for denial is that the property is not registered currently. We could not have a past inspection report on file, whether that is a federal inspection, third party, or a BSEED inspection. It could be that we don't have a lead report on file, or that there are outstanding BSEED fees. So there are a variety of reasons why your certificate of compliance has been declined. If you are working with a third party inspection company, when we go to attempt to process a certificate of compliance, our staff indicates why that certificate of compliance is declined, and that should be relayed to you through your third party. And then if you make those remediations, just let them know and we can go ahead and then process that certificate of compliance. Can you register your property in person at the city county building? My assumption is if this is somebody who does not have access to a computer, we do have computers available here. I would also recommend going to a public library, but where is not. So you can come down and register in person, but we will strongly encourage you to use the ELAPS website because everything does need to still be done electronically. So we would just have somebody assist you in setting up your ELAPS account here. In the beginning of the presentation, there was a slide regarding a correction order. How do you receive one of those for your properties to know what needs to be done to further along the process towards compliance? If the City of Detroit has performed an inspection, the correction order would be sent to you. We would use the address on file that we have, or the address we are able to locate for the owner using the last recorded deed, or if it's registered, that the registration address that you provided to us. If you're a property owner and you are looking for a correction order, you can contact our office and we can provide that to you. Our number is 313-628-2451. The length of the certificate of compliance is a modification that has gone through. So this question is, can you explain the CFC expiration year's length again? So Arthur, I'm going to let you answer that one.
Ms. Fowler, can you repeat that? I was actually
Yes.
reading one of the things in the chat and I got distracted.
Yep. Can you explain the CFC expiration year's length again, and as well as the lead report expirations?
Okay. So certificates of compliance as of January 4th, 2022 are now 3 years for both 1 and 2 family and multifamily buildings. If you get 2 consecutive CFCs after January the 4th, 2022, your certificate of compliance could be valid up to 5 years. Now, as it pertains to the lead clearance, one of the things that we try to do to encourage landlords to do more abatement other than interim controls. If they did interim controls, then it's still 3 years. If they did encapsulation or enclosure, the certificate of compliance will be for 4 years. And if they did full lead abatement, then they would get a 7-year certificate of compliance.
Great, thank you. How long does it take to receive a certificate of compliance after property has been inspected. That varies. It depends on the type of inspection that was done and who performed it and when BSEED receives that inspection paperwork. But again, we are processing rental registrations and certificates of compliance as they come in. So first come, first serve. So the more inspections we get, the longer it's going to take to receive. So if you have an approved inspection, please let us know. Also, to receive a certificate of compliance, we need to have everything on file. So that's that registration, a past inspection report. If the property is required to have a lead report, we need to have all of that on file in order to process it. For the registrations, again, if it is registered as a rental right now and the property does change use, update your ELAPS account so that we know it is no longer a rental property. What do you do if you don't know about a DAH ticket? The city website, if you go to detroitmi.gov and you look up the Department of Appeals and Hearings department page, there's a way that you can search all blight tickets. So if you're curious if your property has outstanding blight tickets, you can search the addresses there that that are your properties. So go ahead and search there if you're looking for blight ticket information. If you want to just stay on top of it going forward, just casually check every once in a while if you're not receiving tickets. Let's see. Again, we will provide all contact information in the next couple days as we update this presentation. All the contact information is there. And I think at this point, we've gone through all of the questions that we've received. So I'm going to pass this back over to Jessica Parker.
Thank you. Can you guys hear me and see me? There we go. Well, I just want to thank all of our panelists for presenting and our support staff for making sure everything ran smoothly this morning. Our next webinar will be in the fall, but again, as we've stated several times, we will be sending out a copy of the presentation and a recording by early next week. If you have any additional questions, that information will also be sent out from the departments as far as the contact information and emails. We'll make sure that's in the emails as well that we send out next week. And we just want to thank you for taking the time out and joining us this morning. Thank you.